What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. Today I'm going to be telling you guys a story of a time I babysat a kid who was definitely a little bit out of control. He bit me because I tried to take away his iPad while he was playing Roblox. He also proceeded to flood the bathroom and then lock me out. And then when his parents came home and I told them all of this, they just acted like, you know, oh, this happens all the time. Regardless, it should be a pretty fun video and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Press the like button, or no joke, no scam, you may be cursed by a witch. And without further ado, let's get right into it.
I know that bitch like me. Yeah, looking fresh, all white Nike.
Alright guys, what is poppin'? Babysitting is one of those jobs that I think every teenager thinks is gonna be pretty easy. Oh, I just have to watch a kid, how hard could it be? And then it takes, you know, a kid or two that's really difficult to teach you a lesson, and for some reason I had to learn that lesson multiple times. I've had my fair share of bad babysitting experiences, but regardless, dude, I was always a fiend for the green, so anytime somebody would offer me money to watch their kid, I'd be like, yeah, I had a really bad experience, but I'll send it. But this kid genuinely takes the cake. So my mom is one of those moms who's constantly going to book clubs and stuff, and she's a great lady, but that means she has a lot of friends, and her friends usually have kids, and for some reason my mom would always tell people that I love to babysit, which is just not true. And then her friends would ask me to babysit, and my mom would be like, please, it would really help them out, you'd be doing me a favor. So I would get suckered into babysitting these kids that I really didn't want to babysit. And one day I get into one of these situations, and my mom tells me that it should be pretty easy because she only has one kid, and apparently he's a gamer, and that makes me optimistic because I like video games. And at the time I figured that, you know, it would probably be easy to watch this kid because we could just play video games together and vibe and hang out. It should be pretty easy to keep him entertained if he's a gamer, especially if he has a console or an iPad in the house. I can always show kids old games that they don't know about that are classics that they will enjoy. So whatever, while I didn't really want to do it, I figured it wouldn't be that bad. So I go to the house and I show up, and I should have known something was wrong when the mom was shocked that I actually showed up. She was like, oh, you actually came? And I was like, yeah, of course, why wouldn't I? And she's like, oh, no reason, it's just usually his babysitters don't show up, which should have been a red flag, dude. If you ever show up to a job and the people that hired you are surprised that you're there, because usually people don't make it that far, that's usually because it's awful or a scam, one of the two. You're either definitely joining a pyramid scheme that sucks that they never get this far, or, you know, something bad usually happens to the people who were in your shoes before. But for some reason, I don't think too much of it, and I get introduced to the kid, and he's playing on his iPad on the couch, you know, and she goes, there's $40 on the counter for pizza and the tip, just give it all to him. And I'm like, damn, okay, you got money like that? And she says he's allowed to play his game, just make him get off of it when the food's here. But when she goes to introduce us, when she goes to, you know, tell him I'm here, he's like, and gets really snippy with her when she takes off his headset, you know, and he says hi, and I say hi, whatever, and she puts his headset back on. And at the time I was like, okay, I'll be honest, if I was in the middle of a game and my mom walked over and took off my headset, I would probably be pretty annoyed too. So I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but yeah, it definitely was a little bit of a brat move, but whatever. The kid is probably around 8 or 9 years old, so, you know, he's old enough to know that you shouldn't be a jerk to your mom, but he's not old enough to not always be a jerk to his mom. And whatever, sometimes kids are jerks, and I wasn't gonna judge anything about it. So he's gaming, doing his thing, and I order a pizza, and I'm just on my phone doing whatever. I'm kind of looking around. I see that there's a PlayStation, and I'm like, oh, maybe me and him can play PlayStation later. I start looking through the games, and he had that Plants vs. Zombies game that was a shooter. So it was basically an E-rated Call of Duty, basically. It was literally called Garden Warfare, I think, which was a knockoff of Modern Warfare, obviously. So I figured that after the pizza got here, I could ask him to play this game with me, and it would be fun, you know? But whatever, until the pizza's there, I'm not doing anything, and I'm kind of not in a weird way, just paying attention to what the kid's doing, and he's getting pretty pissed off at his iPad. So the pizza gets there, I bring it in, I set it down, I get it on a plate, I go over to him, and I just kind of tap him on the shoulder, and he doesn't respond, so I tap him on the shoulder again, and he looks, and he says, what? And I'm like, hey, dude, you know, there's your pizza. I knocked something over on my desk. I'm sorry. Oh no, but you know. Regardless, I tell him like, oh, there's your pizza. And he looks at me and he's like, I don't want it. And I'm like, well, okay, well, I'm just gonna leave it there. And he's like, take it away. And I'm like, no, I'll just leave it there next to you, dude. If you want to eat it, eat it. If you don't want to eat it, I don't care, right? Which like is pretty fair. I know a lot of people would call that bad babysitting, but I'm not gonna like fight with a 9-year-old and shove a piece of pizza in his throat. If he doesn't want to eat it, then he doesn't want to eat it. You know, it's not like I'm getting paid enough to babysit to like not fight with this kid and shove food in his mouth. So he's like, oh, fine. And he puts the iPad down and he starts eating the pizza, right? And I'm like, dude, are you mad at the game or something? Like, are you losing? Because I can see that he's playing Phantom Forces Roblox. And he's like, oh, there's just this one kid who keeps killing me. And I'm like, well, you know, maybe you should take a break. And he's like, no, I'm not taking a break. And I'm like, hey, man, like, listen, you know, you don't want to get too mad at a game. Let's play Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. Like, let's play it. Let's just vibe. Like, you seem really, really mad at this game, and it's probably not good. Which it's probably not, dude. And this kid was not having it. And I understand that if I was in his position, I would probably be really annoyed too. But, like, he's 9, and when I say he's mad, he is red in the face and, like, yelling everything that he's saying. And his response to me saying that he shouldn't play it, he's like, and he starts hitting the iPad. He starts just, like, punching the iPad. So I take the iPad, like, away from his hands, underneath his hands, because he was just punching it. And he's like, give me it back. And I basically am saying, no, I'm not going to give it to you until you agree to not hit it. Like, I'm not going to give you this expensive iPad for you to break it. And then your parents come home and be like, oh, how does iPad break? And me just be like, well, he beat it and I just let him do it. I'm not going to let you break your iPad. And he's just, give me it, freaking out on me, trying to get it away from me. And he's like slapping me in the face. So I turn, so my back is kind of facing them. And he's just kind of hitting my back. And then all of a sudden, and like my upper shoulder, I feel this sharp pain. It almost feels like I'm getting stabbed in like 2 places pretty close together. And I look back and he has his teeth sunk into my shoulder blade, bro. And he's just going and like biting harder and harder. And I'm like, ow, ow. So I grab his head and like pull him off me, right? So I have him in front of me and he's like, give me the iPad. And I say, no. And I put the iPad on a shelf that he can't reach. And I'm like, dude, you can't bite me. Are you kidding me? And he's like, give me the iPad. I've never seen somebody want an iPad so bad in my entire life, dude. Like, genuinely, you would have thought this was Smeagol in Lord of the Rings and I took his precious. He literally bit my shoulder blade hard. It hurt, man, just to get this, like, this stupid iPad. So at that point, I'm like, no, you're not getting the iPad. And he's screaming at me, you're gonna give me the iPad. And at this point, I'm just gonna be stubborn and not give you the iPad. I know a lot of you guys would call that petty, but you bet after a kid bites me when I'm in charge of him and he just wants an iPad, no, you're not getting it. If you think biting me is gonna get you what you want, I have bad news, dude. That is definitely how you don't get people on your side ever. If there's one quick way to make an enemy out of anyone, it's bite them. Because I feel like biting is just definitely not slick. Like, I can understand, you know, you get mad and slap me, whatever. If you bite me, that takes a lot of effort. You have to, you know, get up in my face, put your teeth on me, then decide it's still a good idea. And keep in mind, when I looked back at him, instead of being like, oh no, this was an accident, he growled and bit harder like a tiger that just got challenged to a 1v1 on Rust, dude. It wasn't like there was any regret in his eyes. It was the eyes of somebody who was biting. So at this point, I'm pissed, right? Because homie really just bit me and he's still going for the iPad. I'm like, no, you don't get the iPad now. And at that point, he's like, fine, if you're not gonna give me the iPad, then I'm gonna go lock myself in the bathroom. And I'm like, okay, go for it. I don't care. So he storms upstairs, and I hadn't really been upstairs yet. And I hear the door slam and whatever. I'm just doing my thing. And I go get the iPad down, and I'm checking it to make sure that it's not cracked or anything. And it was all good, but I'm not even kidding, dude. This guy was beating on the iPad like it was a drum or a stepchild, you know? Regardless, I'm just doing my thing, and I start to, like, pick up everything. And I give him a little bit to cool down because I knew he was pissed, and I was really hoping he was just pissed at the game and not me. And after a bit, I decide to go up and like knock on the door and just ask if he wants food. But when I get up there, I realize that I hear water running, but it doesn't sound like a sink running. It sounds like water like hitting the floor. So I knock on the door and I'm like, hey man, do you mind if open up? Like, do you mind opening up? He's like, no, you can't come in. I'm like, look, I brought you your pizza and your iPad. I'm sorry. And when I said he had the iPad, the door opens up. And when I look in, I see that the sink, the drain is clogged and it's like overflowing. I don't know if he had a rag flag or what over the emergency shutoff, but the sink is overflowing and it's just spilling out onto the floor, like the just tile floor in the bathroom. And when I see it, I yell, "Oh my God, turn off the sink!" And when I yell that, I like go to push in the door, and he closes it before I can get in. Like, before I can get my foot in the door, anything to really shove it shut, he closes it, and I hear it lock, and I'm banging on the door. I'm like, "Dude, open the door, and he's like, "No!" And so I'm like, "Man, you're gonna flood your house, like, you're gonna destroy the bathroom," and he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna get blamed for it." And you know what? Sure, maybe I'll get blamed for it, but like, I'm not paying for it. I don't have the money to fix your parents' bathroom, bro. So I'm trying to explain to him, like, even if I get blamed for it, he's still gonna get in trouble, and he's like, "No, I won't. Like, I'm not gonna get in trouble." And I'm banging on the door trying to get in. This kid, for whatever reason, after biting me for taking away his iPad, is now deciding to flood the bathroom. And it's at that point I realize why this kid is probably getting raised by an iPad, is because this is what he does without it. Like, no wonder his parents, just let him play the iPad all day. Because the alternative, if you take it away, is he purposely tries to flood the house. Yeah, no thank you, dude. How do you explain that to the insurance company? "Hey, can you please give me some money to fix my house? My idiot kid decided to purposely flood it because I took away his iPad and wouldn't let him play Phantom Forces anymore, dude." So I have the iPad in my hand. I'm like, "Look, I'll give you the iPad, just open the door." And he's like, "No, because now I'm in more trouble for this than I would be getting the iPad." I'm like, "Look, if you let me in now, I might be able to clean it all up before your parents get home, and then none of us are gonna get in trouble, right?" Which is true. I've cleaned up, like floods before. People have flooded a bathroom. I've picked it up before people's parents have gotten home. But you have to get it to the point of no return. Like, once it starts getting soaked up into the baseboards, or, starts somehow getting under the tile if it's not laid correctly, you're screwed, dude. Like, that's GG. It's over for you. So I can hear it flooding, and every second that goes by, more and more water is just sitting in this bathroom, and he just won't open up the door. So finally, I'm like running around the house, and I find like it wasn't a needle, it was one of the keys for basically the bathroom doors, and I shove it in, and I unlock the door, and I swing it open, and the water depth is probably like up to the rubber on my shoes. It's probably about a half an inch of water just across the bathroom, because the bathroom was super, super small. Like, I'm literally feeling a little bit of water splashing over onto the fabric of my shoes. So I grab the kid, and I like push him out of the bathroom, not aggressively, just to get him out of the way. And then I'm like, "Oh my God." So I run, and I'm asking him where the towels are, and he's being all difficult with me. He's like, "I'm not telling you." So now I'm scrambling around the house, like from linen closet to linen closet, like everything's closet, looking for towels. Finally, I find a bunch of towels. I run back in. I'm like throwing towels on the floor to absorb as much water as possible. And the kid is just kind of standing there just staring at me, dude. Like, he's just not even reacting whatsoever. And so I'm cleaning up the bathroom, and finally, after about 5 minutes, I get the water out. Sadly, like, a bunch of it had already gotten into the vanity and the baseboard, so there definitely was some visible water damage. But I'm like, "Dude, I'm telling on you. Like, I'm not taking the fall for this. I'm telling your parents everything." And he's like, "Yeah, well, they're not gonna believe you," which, honestly, considering the fact that his mom was desperate enough for a babysitter to just trust some random lady's son and like not even talk to me when I showed up, shows me the idea, and also the fact she was surprised I showed up, shows me that this kid definitely has done crazy stuff like this before. Like, I'm sorry, but the fact that his mom was, "Oh, you showed up," was a red flag. But I don't think this kid realized that even his parents were aware of the fact that he's a little bit crazy. So I'm like, "Dude, you flooded the bathroom. Do you have any idea you caused hundreds of dollars of damages to your own house?" And he looks me in the eyes and he's like, "Yeah, I don't really care though. You shouldn't have taken away my iPad." Like, even after all of this, after flooding his own bathroom, he's just like, whatever, I don't care. And I genuinely do not think he cared whatsoever. And you might be thinking, "Oh my God, like, what ended up happening when his parents get home," right? But I still have to watch this kid for a few more hours. So I decide at that point to just give him the iPad, and he's back out in the living room, like playing Roblox or whatever. So he's bitten me, he's flooded the bathroom, and I'm just sitting there, dude. And his parents were supposed to be home at 8 p.m. and 8 p.m. comes and it goes, and I'm having a harder time keeping him under control, and he's starting to get rowdy. And finally he's like, "Yeah, I don't have a bedtime." And they were supposed to be home earlier than bedtime, and at this point I don't know what this kid's bedtime is. I know he's obviously lying to me because I think he has a bedtime, but like, I don't know who to ask. I wasn't supposed to be here this long. So finally, 3 hours late, his parents finally come home, dude. And listen, if you're gonna make me watch your kid for 3 hours hours longer. I really don't care. Like, that's my job as a babysitter, right? But at the bare minimum, could you tell me? Like, dude, no, you just kind of surprised me. Oh, by the way, here's an extra 3 hours. Like, come on. The bare minimum that you should do for me is just let me know. And regardless, his parents get home and they walk through the door, and immediately, I walked up to them and I just started telling them everything that had happened, the biting, the bathroom, all of it. And they look at me, and his dad's there and his mom's there, and they're like, we know. And I'm like, well, what do you mean we know? All right, guys, I'm gonna pause the story time for a second. On the screen is a Roblox gift card. Whoever gets the code gets the code. I actually give a gift card away every single day as just a way to say thank you to everybody who is subscribed. So if you aren't already subscribed, be sure to press that button, turn on notifications. You might as well. 80% of the people who watch my videos anyways apparently aren't subscribed, so you might as well press that button. I give away free money every single day, and if you're fast enough, you might get some of it. So you got nothing to lose, and if you don't like the videos, you're always more than welcome to unsub. Thank you to everybody who is subscribed and has on notifications. It really does mean a lot. And yeah, let's get back to the story time. And they start explaining to me that they have security cameras through the house, and they actually happened to check it while he was biting me. And I'm like, oh, so you saw him bite me? And they're like, yeah. And so then I asked the obvious question, which is, well, then why didn't you come home? And they start explaining to me that, like, he's just a really hard kid to watch and they wanted some time out and they figured I could handle it. Which means, let me get this straight. They checked their security cameras, saw their kid with his teeth, like, sunk into my shoulder and went, well, we don't usually get a night out, so he can handle it. So then I start explaining the bathroom situation. Like, yeah, we saw that too. We have a camera. We know he locked himself inside. I'm like, well, you're aware of the fact that he caused a bunch of water damage, right? And they're like, yeah, but, you know, whatever. Like, we can always just fix it, dude. And so I asked if they were going to do anything to the kid, and they looked at me and they were like, no, probably not. And that's when I realized that they just didn't want to parent, bro. Like, these people genuinely, this kid had flooded the bathroom, dude. He had bit me over the iPad, and they just didn't care. They really didn't care. They were like, well, we'll just pay to get it fixed because it's easier than having to tell the kid no. So they basically just, like, weren't gonna do anything about it. So at that point, I'm just trying to get out of here, and they're like, all right, well, how much do we owe you? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I didn't really know how much I was gonna get paid. And they were like, well, will this cover it? And they handed me $200. And you know what? Yeah, I'll get bit for $200, dude, no problem. So I took it, got out of there, and never went back. Apparently, like, a couple weeks later, they asked my mom if I'd be interested in babysitting again, and she walked up to me, and I was like, oh, who for? And she said the name, and I went, yeah, no, definitely not. That's gonna be a strong no for me, and it will continually be a no, because that's just not gonna happen. I'm sorry, once your kid bites me once, the alliance that we once had in the babysitting community is over, and I am never gonna watch it again, dude. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please press the like button, comment down below. Go ahead and comment the word babysitter down below if you like these videos. I do have a couple of other babysitting stories. If you guys want more of them, like I said, let me know in the comments section down below. I did never keep up on what happened to the kid. I'm gonna guess he's in prison now, or like an evil villain if I had to guess, but you never can be too sure. If you want more content, I do have a podcast called The Scuffedcast. You can find the link down below. And if you look on screen now, you'll see the coolest merch ever. Oh my god, tell me it's not just the flyest. If you guys want some, you can pick it up at the link in the description. I tried to price it as low as I could, so you know, it should be cheaper than other YouTuber mess. I tried my best, or merch, sorry. And yeah, other than that, my TikTok is at Scrubby Stories, Instagram at Scrubby, Twitter at Scrubby_69. Follow me on all of those. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. I appreciate all of you very much, and hopefully you guys have a fantastic night. I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.